Can we turn off the...
Okay, great. I've got a timer and I've kind of gone over it, so I'll do the closest I can here. I'll get it wrapped up. So basically, I'm going to talk to you guys today about using some different teaching strategies, and I'm assuming most of you all have heard lots about teaching strategies, and you're wondering, how is this going to apply to STEM guitar and hopefully, have some interest to you. So we're not going to talk about strategies themselves, but we are going to go over how our implementation of these strategies can really determine the gains in both retention and attention levels of our learners. So first thing that we'll talk about is during our STEM project, we had a STEM guitar project with some incoming middle school students that were going to be incoming freshmen in our high school, and they did an exceptional job with the hands-on portion, but due to a little bit of their age and things like that, it was a little bit harder to really connect with them on some of the curricular part of it. So some of the students were less attentive during some of the modular learning activities, and the goal that I've kind of had in mind since that activity was make the modular learning activities as fun as the hands-on portion. Now, the modular learning activities themselves are great. They've got a really good length to most of them. They're really down to the point, and a lot of them involve an activity of sorts, which is just wonderful in terms of having those pre-made on guitarbuilding.org. But what we can consider as educators is the length of the presentation ourselves when we're giving it, if we're doing the PowerPoint, how much time we're spending on it, the student body, what's our population, are they comprehending it, do we need to repeat things, are you a post-secondary, a middle, a high school teacher, whatever it may be, we've got to consider those values. Modular learning activities can really be expanded, and especially if you're creating your own, there's a couple different things I'm going to talk about today and how those can kind of be improved and go from there. So what does attention and retention look like? So we're going to take a closer look on those two factors. If you look at this chart here, you can see that our attention is very high at the beginning of a lesson. So right now, even as you're listening to me, you're kind of plummeting downward on that downward area where you're soon going to plateau down in low attention. Some of you right now might be thinking of home, you might be thinking of what's for dinner, you might be thinking of your presentation, whoever it may be, and we might flatline down there until I'm done talking or until you're done talking and your students are waiting for you. And what happens is you can see the curve actually starts to go up towards the closing. So you can consider this graph showing a 50-minute class period, the actual time starts to, or the attention levels start to go back up. So the teacher might say, well, in closing, or they might notice a clock or environmental cues of people putting things away of, okay, we're about out of here. I should have been paying attention a little bit better instead of thinking about my car or whatever it is. And our attention levels actually begin to go up. And this is all due to what we call the primacy and recency effect. So the opening or the primacy, our retention levels are very high, and then they start to dip down as time goes on. So you can see in the closing and the recency, we will start to remember more, but there are a few means of combating this, which we'll kind of go over today and using it to our advantage. So to utilize this in your instruction, we can start by differentiating our teaching strategies. We can interchange your means of instruction delivery in a number of ways. First thing is allowing breaks in our instruction. Simple test would be, well, would I fall asleep with what I'm talking about? Absolutely. There's lots of things that can make our learners lose attention. If you look at this chart right here, if your attention is high and you start to take that spike down towards low attention, we can, by differentiating our teaching strategies, we can actually reset our attention value. So if I implement a teaching strategy, let's say I use a Kahoot, or I use a different technological resource, if I use an old school resource of changing the attention values, they won't start dipping down into the low attention factors. We're resetting that, and we're creating this dip over time that won't allow us to have that low attention. We'll kind of get a little bit further into this here and show how this makes a little bit more sense. So we notice change. If you're probably never aware of the AC unit that's humming in the background, it's been humming for the last 10 minutes, you never even knew that was going on. But what you do notice is that when that AC unit shut off, you're like, oh, it's quiet in here now, it's nice. Because we notice change, we notice when those things happen. And in terms of measuring retention, that's an easy thing to do. We can have informal assessments, We can have students respond to questions. We can use our proximity. We can walk around and look at notes. We can pass out post-it notes to try to get an idea on what our students are retaining, and that's an easier process. But what is a little bit more difficult is measuring their attention, because attention is a behavior. And attention is, eye contact, posture, attentiveness to the speaker movements. And attention is the opposite, or what is not attention. Well, you have to know what is the opposite of attention to know what to look for. Looking at a phone, staring out a window. Some of you right now might be counting the ceiling tiles as I'm droning on about this. But we have to know what those things are in order to be able to monitor and record what attention is. So we can actually take data on our attention. We can use momentary time sampling. We can actually collect data. And you're saying, well, I'm a teacher, I don't have time to collect data on something silly like that. But it's fairly easy. Momentary time sampling is, you can say at 10 o'clock, I'm going to check the class, and I'll take a look around at 10 a.m. And I'll say 15 out of my 20 students are exhibiting, what I classified and defined as showing that they're on task and have attention. 5 minutes goes by, and you can set your smartwatch to vibrate in 5 minutes, and you can look up in the moment. That's what momentary time sampling is. And I can look up and say, okay, 15 out of the 20 are still on task. Another 5 minutes goes by, and you look at that moment, and you say, okay, now I've got 12 out of the 20 that are exhibiting that. And so you can actually collect this data, and you can just mark it. It's a very simple process. You can graph it, you can look back on it and go, what part of my lesson were students attending to what I was teaching? What students in my lesson, or what part of my lesson were the students not attending? And where are those values at? So you can actually really collect good data from this if you can define what you are looking for. So how do we create active engagement? Now, being that I'm not there in person, there was some tweaks that I've done to this, and I'm really hoping I've tested this multiple times today with my wife, and I think I'm going to make this happen, and I have enough time. I'm watching my time. If you have a smartphone, I can't really see you guys right now because I'm looking at my Prezi, but if you have a smartphone, I'm going to try this. We're going to give it a whirl. If you could get it out, and I apologize if you've done this before, but if you can get it out, you can go to kahoot.it. So you can go to Google. I hope if you have a phone, if not, look at somebody next to you. But you can Google up kahoot.it. And what it's going to take you to on your phone is a little game section where it's going to say enter a password. You type in kahoot.it in your browser, it'll take you right there. And if you've seen this before, great. Maybe you've used it, maybe you're still not sold on it yet. So I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of strategies to really reinforce what I'm talking about, our attention and retention here. Because if I drone on about a PowerPoint, I'm contradicting kind of this whole entire lesson. So hopefully some of you guys have the kahoot.it pulled up on your phone.
Yep, we got it.
And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create, I'm sure you can all see what I'm looking at here.
Yep, we
but
got
I've got different kahoots here. There's public kahoots. There's all these different ones. We have the STEM guitar one that I'm going to play now. Sound is going to come up because I put a video behind it, because anything you can do that can really capture attention, you're really going to try to make it as engaging as possible. So it's going to pull up and I'm going to talk over it, but when the video, or when I hit play here in a second in the purple, a code is going to come up. It'll be a 5 or 10-digit code or whatever it is. And you're going to type that into your bar, and once you do that, it'll prompt you to put a name in. So you can type in whatever nickname you want, make it quick. We got about 6 minutes left that I have with you guys. So type in a quick name, and then I'll hit play, and we'll kind of run through the game so you can see what you're doing. If your students do this and put in inappropriate things, you can kick them out. But I'm going to hit play here just so you guys can see it if you haven't seen this yet. So you're on full screen. So right here, we'll go to classic, and it will start playing some Led Zeppelin in the background because, hey, it is a STEM guitar, you might as well see. So type that code in now on your Kahoot and see if I can get some of you guys and girls to put that in and go from there. That 339853. Plug it in and just make a nickname, make it perfect. Doug, you're awesome. That's great. Jump, Doug, rock and roll, we're doing great. Freebird, beautiful. Wow. Seabass, Dylan, love it. Doing great. Okay. We've got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 12 players.
Yes.
Give you about a couple more seconds. You guys are doing this way faster than I thought, so this is beautiful. Right on time. All right, cool. So I got about 15 of you. I think I'm just going to go with it just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to start in. And don't mind that graphic, please, that's very embarrassing. I'm not a computer whiz, but it is a little out of there. It's not perfect, so anyways. So on your phones, you'll see there, you can type in the blue, the green, the yellow, the red, for whatever you think is the correct response to the question at the top. So go ahead and cue them in. And as the instructor, you'll see all the answers pouring in. I'm sure lots of you do this or have done this. So then you can go through and you can see what people are choosing. And actually, I can't believe a lot of you guys did really well. I even wrote these and I can't really tell you. But you can look through here and see who's in the lead, and people really, it forms that competition with your students and goes from there. You can see in the background there's pictures. You can put pictures up, and the next one you can actually put videos. And then the last two I added a couple of videos just to show you some of the capabilities of this. Okay.
I'm in 8th place. What the hell?
Got 2 more. We'll be done.
My mom's not gonna be happy. For school.
What's the last grade?
Okay, last question.
Doug's killing it.
Doug had the answer ahead of time.
Greg, Kyle and I worked this out in advance. It's a ringer.
How many?
Teachers.
Yeah, we got.
Okay, so you can really go through. Congratulations, Doug. You being awesome. She-Bass, STEM guitar, Led Zeppelin. That's beautiful. Everybody did a nice job on that. I'm gonna get on with the program here. Look at that.
It does.
You guys, and wrap this up so we can get on
Even
the rest of your
Doug
day.
wasn't
So the reason I showed you guys that is just I could hear you guys laughing in the background, doing it. You have fun. They have fun with the nicknames within reason. Sometimes you got to kick them out. But that's one way to really create that engagement. Something that you remember, something that you're actively doing. I'm not going to show this. This was a backup plan. It was a 2-minute YouTube video that I'm not going to play. But it's Nearpod, the very good program, good resource that you can look into that kind of discusses some of the different things that you can use. There's tons of benefits from using technology. It gives you the ability to create pre- and post-tests, informal assessments, quizzes, and surveys. I know there's a ton of good stuff in terms of key and what we already have set up with STEM Guitar, but any more additional resources are always a benefit. You can track your student performance, make adjustments in your teaching on what they are missing and what they're not getting. Public and private Kahoots, student-created quizzes and surveys really reinforces and creates mastery. This year was an activity I was going to do with you guys in person. It's going to pass out envelopes. You've probably done this or seen this before. It's going to have strips in those envelopes, and you're going to basically order them from earliest to latest in history. After you did that with your strips that were in your envelope, you could look there and you could say, well, how did you do? And you'd say, well, all right, well, I thought 1951, I thought that was not the first part in history, and it's really giving you a chance to manage what you're doing in an active level. There's tons of engaging resources, technology, the old school tricks, which I just kind of talked about, the envelope. And I'm closing this up here. In closing, remarkably, attention just got a whole lot better. But it can autopilot, I like to say, because I can put my students on that. I can put 80 questions on there for when they're studying for a test, and they're in the zone. And there's no need for me other than to monitor what they're doing. It's really efficient to keep them engaged. And on the back of the envelope, if you had your strips of question on there, I was going to have you write 2 things about the presentation you learned and 1 question you had. Now, why would I have you do all this stuff? Okay? Because we're getting back to this chart here with the high attention and low attention. And I'm resetting your attention by giving you all these different things. If I was having you do the envelope activity, if I'm having you use whiteboards to respond to questions that I'm talking about. If I'm having you get around the room, I'm having you do working in groups. Whatever it is, we can change and reset that so that we don't lose the attention value, and you can record data on that. So that's basically the premise of the presentation today that I wanted to show everybody and talk to you about, so that you can kind of utilize retention and attention and the primacy and recency effect to try to keep your learners as actively engaged as possible.
Very cool.